If artificial intelligence can create a brand new 90s rock anthem in 10 seconds, what does that say about the future of music? Will the AI revolution lead to the mediocrity of culture? Will it cause a ripple effect that cancels out independent artists? Or will it be a useful tool for musicians to create their own music faster? What if the world decided we were all better off without AI creating art and just stopped consuming and creating it? Those are some of the questions and topics I'm going to dig into today with my guest, Fucillo, from a band called Wyatt and the Ashes, as he's been a vocal opponent of the use of AI for creating art pretty much since it started happening. We'll talk about three major threats AI poses to music, and specifically rock music, the line between tools and replacement, and some practical ways fans and artists can fight back against the impending terror of an artificial world. We will also be discussing the music of Wyatt and the Ashes and how the journey to create a song is what makes us humans different from the machines. Welcome to the Powered by Rock podcast, where real rock fans come to discuss and hear stories straight from the artists who actually make the music. Welcome back to the show, AJ. It has been a long, long time. It's actually, I just checked, it was 2023, I think, the last time we actually did a podcast together. So it's been a while, but thanks for joining the show and thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure. It's good to see you, bud.
Yeah.
I just ran into you, a couple weeks ago at the NoFX exhibit, and we were talking about the whole AI thing, and it's so funny because just in those couple weeks, there's been so many advancements and changes, and that's how wild this whole thing is.
Yeah, I know. And it's like the more deep fake and more realistic things look and sound, it's just more people believe what they're seeing, and it's just crazy. So, yeah, I think before we dig into today's topic of AI killing rock music, I want to first obviously intro you. Obviously, they can go back and watch the 2023 episode. I'll link that in the link as well, so you can get some of the music and some more information about you. But just to kind of get a glimpse of your expertise and your background. If I'm talking about you, I'm thinking AJ's a hardworking independent rock musician. That's one of the best musicians in Las Vegas. Plays his heart out on stages. That's the one thing I think, if you ever watch Wyatt and the Ashes or just you play in general, I remember I put together a show with you, just, solo guitar, with a couple other solo artists, and that was, phenomenal. You can definitely tell you have a passion. The music's personal. The music cuts a bit deeper because it is something that comes from you, and it takes time to create. And that's something that you don't get from AI, and we'll talk about that obviously, and you've been in other rock bands for years, and you've been doing Wyatt and the Ashes for a few years now, played shows of all sorts. Not only do you create music as art, but you also create art, pen, pencil, painting, that kind of stuff. And that's incredibly inspiring as well. So can you talk about your personal journey, both, in both art forms, like the personal journey you have, but then also like how do the experience you have in life kind of matter to those things?
Yeah, man. First of all, thanks for all those amazing compliments, man. I actually find more peace lately in the fact that I am nobody in the sense of, popularity and like what I do, but I think that keeps me focused on the actual art form and not caring so much about what other people think about it. Art and music in general, I think, is such a selfish thing. It is a very narcissistic thing, but in order to express oneself, you have to be able to dive in and find those kind of selfish places to then show other people, and as far as personal experience, I've been playing and I've been drawing probably longer than I've been making music, and it's just art in general is just something that naturally pours out of me. I actually have a hard time understanding people who think music is just sound or just noise in the background, but that is a reality that most average consumers, it's just, oh yeah, that looks nice, or that sounds pleasant enough to drive to, or whatever it may be. But for some people, this stuff is just the reason for being. I think you're either a creator or a consumer, and I think if you're creating, you're consuming less, and I think if you're consuming, you're not creating. And I think there's a healthy balance, but in the shortcut of the world, certain things go out the window.
When I first moved to Las Vegas, a lot of the people that I met, their favorite phrase when I talked about a song, I was like, "Why do you like that song?" They're like, "Oh, I just like the beat." I'm like, "You like the beat of the song, the kick drum of the song? That's the beat. The beat is the kick drum. Like, you're telling me that's what you like about the song? Like, anybody can just go bump, 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 bump. Like that's every song. Like every dance hit has that basic beat." And they would be like, I don't even know what they're talking about. I have no idea what the song's about, but I just like the beat. I'm like, wow, that is crazy to me that that's something that people could actually say out loud and not
Yeah.
realize that they're like consuming stuff just because it's a singular beat, which is crazy to
And,
me.
and yeah, and and that's okay too. I know we're not really getting to the AI stuff yet, but it's hard to even talk about myself or creating myself without it kind of coming back to where we're at lately. And I think that's why there's a need for these discussions and why these discussions are so interesting because we're already so far past the red
Yeah.
that it's like, where do we go now kind of thing. So it's but to get not off topic here with what you were saying or asking me about the personal journey. It's just been fun, man. It's just, it's been a lot of fun. I've done a lot of stuff. I've been writing music my whole life and drawing my whole life, and I've been working my whole life on top of that too, So I think there's a lot of I think I'm blessed actually that I didn't have the easy way in when I was younger or, make it when I was younger and have that fill my head and have that kind of corrupt what I'm doing. Like I've had to do everything I'm doing based on passion and based on the want and the desire and the burning desire to do these things. There's no other reason. There's no other
Yeah.
motivation. No one's throwing me a sack of money and throwing my face on a billboard. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Not yet.
it's you got to do this stuff because you love it, man. You have to. And it's amazing how many people just say, "Oh, I'm in a band and I expect this, and let me play this show, and you should." It's just like, wow, like get out there and play a little.
Yeah. Yeah. And you and I were even talking about, the creative process that goes into like your first album versus like the next few albums or the next time you create a song. And you mentioned like the first album is basically your greatest hits of the time, right? Because you can draw down from, say you have 30 songs that you've ever written for your first album, you can produce and record the best 10, 12 songs, right? Put that on the album. Those are your greatest hits. But then going forward, you then have to rewrite from scratch like new stuff or take from the old stuff that didn't make the first album or a blend of the both. And it's kind of like the hard part is like doing it again and being better and better and better.
Yeah.
And some people can do it, some people can't. Some bands just kind of recycle it, but whatever. But this is the kind of stuff that like when you talk about creative process and passion, things take time to write really good things. Like if you're in that machine of like you got to write a new album every 2 years, well, it's formulaic. It's not necessarily passion. It's just I got to do this because it's maybe making money or something.
Yeah. I mean, you never know what resonates with people. Sometimes simple and just farting something out there, is a hit, Like, I'll be honest with you. I think sometimes I invest too much into a song or it becomes too personal and too selfish where it might not resonate with a lot of people. But, that's a personal choice I make and I don't really care because you could fill a room with people who don't get it. But I can tell the one dude in the corner who's like, I saw what you did there. Or that reminded me of this or that. And back to the whole greatest hits thing that you're saying. I think that's the goal. I think when you're a band starting out, you really want to make a name for yourself, and you're doing it for the right reasons, right? Which is about the music.
Yeah.
Your goal should be to like pour out like your best greatest hits album, your Dookie, you know what I mean, like that, those types of albums. But you got to be a fan of that kind of stuff to really understand. Because we all are just copies of a copy, right? Like when it comes to AI, you're just AI is just taking all this information and compiling it to a random thing that might sound and might feel like this pop country song, and then here it is. But ever since I could remember, my guy, like I still remember all my favorite songs as a kid. I still remember every song that like hit me emotionally, and your brain kind of holds on to these songs and saves these songs like in a giant file, kind of like in Bruce Almighty. Remember when that big file
Yeah.
cabinet comes out
Yeah.
and he's like, it's like you save every song and you dissect that song, and in your mind you go, what makes this good? Where's the hook? Why do I feel different when this part of the song comes around? What makes it good? And if you listen to everything and you listen to enough throughout your entire life, uh, or you just cram everything you can in the short amount of time that
Yeah.
you have this like infinite pile of resources to pick from when you're creating songs. But it's personal, it's human, it's self, it's not algorithmic, it's not artificial. You're pulling these little details from songs that meant something to you, that made you feel this way, that made you feel that emotion. You go, how do
Yeah.
I then deliver that emotion? And that should be the goal. I think that should be the goal for any musician, is the music. But in today's age, I think we really need to start separating who's a content creator, who's an entertainer, who wants fame online versus who's creating music, right? And especially in the rock genre, I think there needs to be more mystery in music. Like, I don't think I want to see my favorite artist go live on a Saturday morning and tell me what he's eating for breakfast. I want to see him on a poster on my wall with like flames ejecting from, a stage or something. Like that's the kind of mystery in music we need to get back to. Here's the record. Here's the tangible thing I spent a year and a half creating. Do what you want with it. I'm going to go disappear or go on tour for a year and tour that record. That's the only content you're going to get from me. Like even interviews and stuff. Like, you and I are friends, you and I are buds, and I love this topic, so I want to talk about it. But like, I don't like getting on with someone who's never listened to my music and, ask me questions about, what I think about this or that. Like, no one cares. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about, we're old enough to where when we heard bands on the radio or we heard bands, on a compilation album or something, we had no idea what they looked like. Never saw them ever, like until maybe we saw them live at a Warped Tour or in concert, or they put out a music video years later after we, liked them for, we're like, oh my God, that's what they look like. I swear, like there's so
Yeah.
many bands where I'm like, I had no idea. Like Lagwagon was one of them. I listened to Lagwagon for years, and then I've even seen some of the pictures of the band, but like you couldn't really like make out their faces and stuff. And then when you see them live, you're like, oh, that's what they look like. I had no idea
Bro,
that's what they look like.
I love the mystery. Like,
Yeah,
I love seeing the lead singer as almost a cartoon character and not a human being. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I don't even consider myself a singer. I'm really into character voice acting. Like, there's 4 or 5 voices I'm using just in Wyatt and the Ashes. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, but like that's the sad part is like I don't feel like keeping up with the content creation. Like I don't want to dump all this stuff out. Like I want you to see clips of a good live show so you know what you're getting from there. I want to share my artwork and everything else just I feel like is a waste of time. But the whole AI thing where I think it's going to go, and it could go in a really positive way where it just blows up in the faces of corporate executives, and we all turn our backs to it, and everything, gets cool again over time. But I'm prepared for just writing songs for the campfire, my guy.
yeah,
And I think that's where everyone's focus needs to be. Who's going to survive around the campfire?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not
After
you're
the
following.
robots take us over and destroy our civilization, all we got left is the campfires.
Yeah, like cool. You got 100,000 followers because you had one viral video of you on stage eating a cookie or some dumb shit. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? But like,
Yeah,
can you pull out a guitar and entertain someone around the campfire? Can you earn your meal around that fire?
exactly.
And I think if that's the focus, we're gonna have a lot better musicians. You know what I mean? Because bands come out and advertise they're being bands, but they want to be all these other things too. So, they'll use AI, and I think AI is more of a threat in the writing process than it is full blown artificial song, shit it out. There it is.
Yeah,
I think it's the laziness of writers and the I want it now and I deserve this and I need to be heard. It's that mentality that's going to use AI and shit out crummy songs. But
yeah, I don't disagree. So let's kind of like format this a bit to where we can structurally, talk about AI, take it down, break it down, and look at it, right? Because there are things that AI can do, there are things that AI can't do. AI can generate audio in the style of this musician, that folk, whatever, that genre, right? It can do that. It can clone voices, which is creepy and crazy. It can mimic guitar tones and drum patterns, and it can mass produce content at scale. The things it can't do: can't tour, can't bleed, can't bomb on stage, can't build a scene, it can't earn trust the hard way. It can't replace the culture that makes rock music specifically matter. Like there's each genre has its like tribe, its following, its kind of hardcore fans and stuff like that. Rock music has kind of had that for like decades. I mean, it was truly probably the first massively popular art form in terms of music because of like the Beatles, like all these pioneer bands and all that stuff. And rock music isn't just like a collection of notes and chords. It's engagement, relationships, life experiences pursued, and even including the times that you listen to that music with other people, right? Like in a concert or in a car or whatever. You can remember things about that. AI can't reproduce that. It can't even imagine that. Like it can't summon that and say, here's how I make music, right? So as an independent rock musician yourself, kind of where do you see the difference coming when you hear artificially generated songs versus when you hear a song that you can like was actually crafted through some hard life experience? What do you see
Mhm.
from that?
I think there's more of a danger to the pop artist and the top 100 artist than there is the rock artist. I think AI is definitely going to have a harder time mimicking, really good rock and roll. But you've already heard the generic stuff sounds like everything that's not generic on the radio. A
Yeah,
generic
exactly.
song's a generic song. And what a lot of people don't realize is most of your favorite pop stars have a writing room of, you know, however many people that are very talented at writing that are just spitting out ideas like a computer would and then compiling them for the artist. And then, you've got the pretty face then to perform it. So it's already at a point where like what we're talking about in AI music in general is going to be just for the average consumer. You know what I mean? I don't think the threat is so much imitating the art. Here's the thing. These AI companies, they don't care about making good music. They care about taking the artists off the market. That's what we're seeing. There's a reason why other countries outside the US are banning a lot of these AI companies from doing this because, and not to get political or anything like that, but any science fiction novel or movie about a futuristic dystopian universe has showed us the first thing they're going to take away from people is the ability to create and the want and the need to consume real human creation. Because once again, if you're not creating, you're conforming. And
Yeah.
if you don't care about where your creations come from, if you don't care about the human art form, it's a lot it's a lot easier to digest policy.
I think in this, I mean, I haven't actually seen the movie myself, but the metaphor of the movie, The Human Centipede, is actually more accurate for that type of a situation in real life than the scientific experiment of can these people survive by eating shit and pooping it out. But that's kind of what they're doing. Like anybody who wants to create real music still can, obviously, right now. But there was always like when I was kind of growing up, and we're similar ages, you're a few years younger than me, but when I was growing up there was always like a hope or desire that you could grow up to be playing music professionally. Like you don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to have like a jet ski and a boat and all this, like a yacht and all this stuff and have a big house. But you could do it. You could tour. You could play music. You could make a living on it.
Mhm.
Now it's like, as a rock musician, it's very difficult because everybody's just drinking the sludge, the gruel, the whatever it is, right? Because it's just what's being there. So I feel, and I'm kind of sensing you're feeling the same thing because of how you answered that last question. But I don't know if fans can distinguish the difference between AI and pop music. And I think that AI absolutely could just bleed right into the top 100 and nobody would bat an eye at this point.
I think, unfortunately, this has been a slow progression into destruction. And in order to talk about distinguishing those sounds, you first have to go back to like the early, probably late 90s, early 2000s. Like sound changed a lot when it came to rock music and pop music at that time. And a lot of the sounds you were hearing, like drum wise and a lot of these things, you're using artificial tools already to mask real live audio sound when it comes to recordings. So already we're kind of training the ears for this big poppy clean sound that is sometimes unrealistic, when it comes to live audio recordings. So I think we're also facing a time where we have to start subtracting some of those things and be a little more raw and a little more punk rock. Uh, and that could be the rise of popularity too, in political times and AI times, all these times like people are craving more raw. But we need to wake up and be a little more prepared because the economy is destroyed touring, I think, for a lot of people, domestic and internationally. And it's going to be they're making it kind of, without being a conspiracy theorist, I don't know a lot, but just from what I'm observing, it just seems like a really hard time to do this, which is
Yeah,
why it's even more important. We've got to do this.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Like the sense of urgency is just it's insane. Like it's not just me. I talk to other musician friends and you know a lot of close friends of mine, and there's like this sense of like the real ones are stepping up, going, all right, it's time to put on the gloves and like really pursue it. Because what else is there, man?
So let's talk about like kind of the big first threat, and you kind of already alluded to this as well. But big first threat that AI poses to musicians is the infinite amount of content creation, right? Content creation in general. So one of the biggest dangers of AI generated music is that it can just flood the market. In general, it just kind of comes up there. It can endlessly drown out what is real. Just like, how the fake news bots on Facebook just send out all that massive, bullshit stories, and
Yeah.
then everybody assumes that it's real, and they don't know what's right and wrong anymore. And people think that, a bug in Madagascar has killed 2,000 people or whatever. And they're like, what are you talking about? But that's the real thing, is that, there's a problem then that playlist and discovery become more difficult because there's the smaller artist is just being drowned out by all these bots and fake things. And, as rock musicians, the ethos is, identity and authenticity, which if nobody's caring about that, nobody's searching for that, and nobody can find it, like, it's going to kind of phase things out. So do you think that, musicians who can't put out music at a frantic pace will lose in this scenario? Or do you think that real people will still savor the music if and when it comes out, as long as it's quality? Basically, do you think that quantity kills quality, or vice versa in the end?
Hell yes. Hell yes. I don't know who said it, but there's this saying: if Dark Side of the Moon came out today, it wouldn't even cross your radar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if you know about the AJ Wyatt thing. You know, I don't know if it's someone messing with me or if it's just a coincidental, like, algorithmic thing. But, when I go solo, I used to go under AJ Wyatt because of Wyatt and the Ashes. I wanted the association between the name and the solo. And I was playing Wyatt and the Ashes songs acoustically. 2 years ago, an AI artist has emerged under the name AJ Wyatt and released singles such as Cantina Tina
Wow.
and similar titles to Wyatt and the Ashes songs. And it sounds nothing like us. It's a name and it's subject material, but that's all they need. And without even getting into that, because I don't know, I am open about the anti-AI thing. If someone did spend the time to curate an AI artist that mirrored me, holy shit, cool. Then I'm doing something right. Now, if it really is like some, like, algorithmic big evil corporation conspiracy taken away from people, think about this for a second. How hard is it to come up with a really good band name that resonates with you? And then when you find that name and you Google search it to find out there's 100 bands already named that name,
Yeah.
now you have a computer algorithmic AI system pumping out AJ Wyatts and this and that, and just, and then marketing it, branding it, and making it impossible for you to use that name. This is what I mean about AI taking artists off the market.
Yep.
It's already headed towards a place where it's going to be the campfire and back alleys of venues. Like, this is where we're at because I can't record under AJ Wyatt.
That's
And
crazy.
Cantina Tina has a million fucking streams. And I don't know how many people have heard, our version. So
Yeah.
it's depressing. Like, I laugh about it now, but when my buddy called me up and shared this information with me at 3 a.m., I was like, had like a little mini, it does something to you as an artist, man. Like, I'm not saying that my music or my art's important, but to me, it has been. And to slow craft a song and choose your words, right? And you sit on these phrases for a couple weeks and you're at work and you're working night shift and you're 12 hours over the fucking road and you're driving, you're piecing these words together. And then you spend a year writing a fucking song just to have, like, some computer version of you, like, emerge or whatever, be like, yeehaw, yeah, it just sucks, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually the threat number two that, I would bring up, is that voice style cloning, identity theft, basically not making music that necessarily sounds like what you created, but just lifting your name, lifting the names of your songs, and then basically creating something off of that. I mean, there are real risks that exist with AI, that, there are fake tracks that claim famous artists are singing and playing on them, just taking names from real artists, scams that promote music, all that stuff that, say that there's a million streams. Who knows if there's really a million streams? Because who the fuck knows who's listening to this? It could be bots, it could be whatever. And, deepfakes create offensive AI content that could damage your reputation if they actually pretended to be you while doing it, right? Like, and going out and say, like, I support ISIS or some crazy shit like that. Like, anything can happen, right? So, like, they say that
Yeah,
all press is good press, but something like that isn't necessarily going to fucking help you, right? Like,
I
what do you
mean,
think about stuff like that?
I think that's the fear for a lot of people, but like you can't dwell on that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I don't know who said it, but what we allow as a society shapes society. So, yes, of course, you and I will always distinguish the difference between something that, it's really artificial and you can hear it, and something that was curated with human passion and hands. But we're the younger generations, it's going to get less and less, right? How many older, the old school guys that we grew up around were like, oh, you guys don't know shit. We used to track this on a fucking, like th- that's how it's headed. But you're going to have less and less real stuff, right? It's going to be too easy, and like I said, it's been a slow progression, but we need to have laws on stuff. I think we need to distinguish what the difference is. But and back to your actual question though, in terms of like a lot of content being pushed out and kind of like flooding all this, yeah, like really sucks. Like I'm a bit of a collector. Like I collect vintage Ninja Turtle figures. Like I really love those things. But over the years, they have re-releases,
Hmm.
right? And as a collector, it kind of takes away the fun of having the 1986 piece if the fucking 2026 piece looks just like the 86 piece. And now it does something to a collector, it does something to an artist when you have the option. The fact that we're even talking about this and that there's an option for AI,
Yeah.
it's already very depressing you know and I don't think the average consumer, the average person who isn't creating art or does this for a living or does this out of passion, really cares or understands how fucking depressing it is. you know it's like a police dog when you take them out of service. The meaning of life has been stripped away, and a lot of them don't survive but a couple years after being taken out of service.
Yeah.
you know and that's how my heart feels, honestly, if I'm being for real. It's become harder, it's made me stronger, I have this sense of urgency, I want to write more, and I'm thankful for that. But yeah, it kind of sucks. So
Yeah.
I just have to prepare myself emotionally to write songs for that campfire. I keep going back to that, but to me that's where a real musician is going to be determined.
Yeah. And it's a visceral image that you're kind of putting in there, like a real world example of a police dog being taken out of service. It's like if the thing that you've been doing that you love is suddenly just be like you can't do that anymore. They don't live much longer. That there's that thing of like most people after they retire and they don't have a plan for what they're going to do after retire, they don't live much longer. That's how like some of this kind of really plays out in the real world. So I think you're right. I mean, it's soul stealing. It's like um, heartbreaking, and it's
Yeah,
viscerally, like you can feel it. Like you can feel it in your
yeah.
body when something like that is happening.
They weren't even paying musicians before. It was a hard life already before, and now they're saying, oh well, the average person doesn't care if it's you or if it's fucking this, and this
Yeah.
is cheaper or this is more convenient. This is Um, Here's a big one for you, and to make it easier to digest for the average listener, I compare this to nutrition and food, right? Look at
Mhm.
the food industry, look at fast food, right? Back in the day, everyone said, "Oh, fast food will never take over." The human knows the difference. The human knows the difference between real grown food and artificial food. This will never last.
Yeah.
And nutrition is more important than fucking what you're listening to. And
Yep.
McDonald's is on every corner, and it's fast and it's easy, and those with the power and the money are in charge, and it's the same thing.
Yep.
Look where we're at with nutrition. It's the
Yeah.
same
Especially,
evil bastards upstairs in the fucking nutrition world and the grocery stores and fucking then in your ears and in your
yeah.
eyes. You
And
know,
it's getting worse. I mean, it's not like they're hiring better experts of nutrition these days. I mean, obviously RFK being the head of the FDA or whatever, the fucking backwards food triangle that he's created. But yeah, you're exactly right. It's what you put into
and,
your body, the input and the output matter, right? Like whatever you put into your body, listening, food, all that stuff, it matters.
not to get off topic, but in terms of AI and kind of this image that we have from the movie Terminator, right? I'm starting to believe that the movie Terminator was worth the warning than it was anything, because I think imagery wise, we're waiting for the machine gun wielding evil robot humanoid figure to come up. And really, we're all already there. Like the
Yeah.
machines are there. And the visual of this, I think, has taken our brain off of they've won the war.
I mean, there's a reason why, like, some of the top tech executives don't let their kids have technology because of these exact reasons, right? Like, if somebody from the 1950s was plopped into our world, they'd be like, holy fuck, nobody here knows how to talk to a human being. Like, just as an example, completely off topic, but, I've talked to younger people. I'm like, have you ever asked a girl to go out with you, like, in person? They're like, no, never happened. I'm like, that's never happened. And they're like 20, 25 years old. They're like, I've never
Yeah.
even, like, it's either through text messages or like online, and it's like totally impersonal. It's still scary, I guess, but because you're putting yourself out there. But like the difference between doing it in person and expecting a yes or no answer right there, like that is completely shocking that, 20, 25, 30-year olds potentially haven't even experienced something like that. Similar to like bombing on stage, playing to a crowd that doesn't give a fuck if you're there or not. Like, playing a song that nobody claps at the end. You're like, what the fuck? Like, those experiences do matter when you're actually a human being.
I can't tell you the last time I shook another man's hand and he looked me in the eyes.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
Where are we going? Just using that as like an example for social structure and kind of just to touch on what you were just saying. But
Yeah.
that's, I don't know. Things are different. Things are changing. You got to accept that too. But I think there's a much bigger picture, and I think AI is kind of the entry or the window to a lot of much bigger, scarier things. But I guess those are for other conversations, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll keep it on the rock and roll, baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there is a spirit to it, and I think anyone that really knows that or realize that, they can see the difference, they can feel the difference. And I think at this point, the main goal as an artist should be to positively influence as many people as you can in the art world, in the community, coming to shows, coming to these things, to want to pick up a guitar and do the same thing and show them that same level of spirit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why both you and I play guitar. We started playing, started writing music, started singing songs. It's not because, we heard a song that we knew nothing about and it sounded good or whatever. And so we decided to start playing. It was because we probably listened to a song, actually heard what they were saying, understood what was going on, realized that it has some sort of connection with us as a human being. And then we wanted to try to, do some of that on our own, right? Do that in our own way. Whereas, if you're hearing it from just an AI source, and obviously you can never watch these bands play live because they're not real. Obviously they can project images or videos, but it's not a real person, right? So like you're not seeing their human reaction. You're not seeing the passion, not hearing the gravel in their voice or whatever. Like, they just played 5 shows and, they smoke and drink. And so like by the 6th day or whatever, their voice is tired and they're fatigued. You don't see that from AI. You don't get that, in person kind of thing, right? We were talking about a little bit about the economics. Like they didn't already pay musicians, right? They weren't paying rock musicians before AI was a big thing or even invented. Since streaming kind of existed, it kind of has killed a lot of the payments and structure, but you can still make some money if you're kind of a big artist or whatever. But in a world where like essentially anything can be created for free and instantly, there's going to be like I said, a bigger flood of all this stuff. AI tracks will also cut some of the licensing fees. Like people actually, create music for shows, create people, background music for videos that somebody might use online or whatever. Like there are like just everyday jobs that AI can now take out of the workplace, right? Like so thousands of like content creators, they're artists, musicians, all that stuff's gone. Small production, jingles,
Yeah.
anything that somebody could use
Thank
for
you.
a business. So
That's
all
what,
that,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like that's absolutely right, man. Like I just saw I forgot who it was, but they were talking about, a famous guitar player who was playing the jingle on some fast food commercial or whatever. And for years, I had no idea that that's who it was. But like things like that are so important. When that goes out the window, where's the need or motivation for a kid to want to then become a musician or want to do that thing? Oh, Dad, where did that song come from? I love the way that sounds. What is that? Oh,
Yeah.
that's a computer, son. Well, I can't be one of those. Like
Yeah.
you got, I don't know, like what's going on. Like it's always gonna be there, but it's less and less, right?
Yeah. And I mean,
There's that one blockbuster video that's still left in the United States, right? There's a documentary about it.
Bend
The
Orient. Yeah.
needs,
Yep.
We have the burning desire and this need for things that we're just like, oh, put it in a fucking museum.
Yep.
How about we don't?
I mean, that's the great thing about, I mean, local shows, live shows, right? Like things where you actually meet people who aren't kind of detached from the reality of the fan experience, the live music experience. I still go to shows as much as I possibly can. Not, I don't necessarily go to a lot of the big shows. Like I'm not paying $400 to watch the Strokes. I'm just not going to. I'm never going to pay $400 to go watch a band for 2 hours. Like I will take that $400 and I will put it across 10 different or 20 different shows and watch 20 different live music local shows and be much happier for it. I get 20 experiences. I get to meet 20 different groups of people. I get to experience things in a different way than standing 3,000 feet away from somebody and just watching from half a mile away or whatever and going, I can't even see anything unless I'm watching it on the screen. Like, what is that experience? Like, I don't think that should go out the window, because those artists also help pave the way for the rest of artists and stuff like that. But it's like, as a fan and somebody who has played music, I would much rather be in with the music than experiencing it, paying a bunch of money to experience it from this telescopic or what do you call it, like a helicopter view. I'd rather be in it, right? Like that's where the music really lives. So that's an experience that AI, and most fans just don't even acknowledge these days. It seems like that
Yeah.
part has just gone out the window for most people.
But if the creators keep getting more and more watered down and keep using AI as tools, and then even if that performance is translated live, you're going to have less and less interest in it, man. There's something about really shaking it out, man, and really sweating it out in front of people that fucking, oh, okay, that's different, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, look at all the digital stuff. I went to a metal show and it was all like, felt like it was all on tracks, man. I'm not judging, man. It sounds clean. It sounds fucking awesome. And these are way more talented fucking bands than I'll ever fucking be. But something takes me out of it when I'm like just listening to the track online, basically, and you're just dancing in front of it like a pop star. Like, make a fucking mistake. Stop being afraid. You know? Like, make some noise. Fucking bend the string different. Like, fucking scratch on the guitar. Like, be stupid, man. Be
Trip over
yourself,
a
man.
chord and fucking say, "Oh shit."
Why not? Put the human back in everything.
Yeah.
Fuck it, dude.
Yeah. Well, we actually talked about this because the last show that I was at with yours, you had a tuning mishap. You were a bit nervous.
Oh yeah,
Tuning
dude.
happened, and you're like, you're fucking like freaking out in your mind, right? But then it's like everybody else is like patiently waiting, but you're just like, oh fuck, this is
Yeah.
fucking ruin the show.
Well, like, I don't know, that shit happens. There's technical difficulties, but like what I could tell you about that is if I didn't have the fucking experience of doing what I was doing, I would have ran off that stage. I think anybody would, and that's just what happens. But like you fucking fight through it, you smile about it, you whatever, and then you figure out how to, make sure that the thing doesn't happen again. In that situation, it was like knocked around the guitar so hard that the whole thing just fucking like severely something with the bridge and just knocked everything out of tune. So in that moment in front of like, there was a lot of publicity, I think, at that show because it was, so there was like a lot of cameras and a lot of things. Like we were filming a music video and everything. So,
Yeah.
but what's funny, if you go online and you see the music video for Macaw, that live video that we did, that's literally the song after that fuck up. So if you see my face in that video, there's like this aggression of like time to fucking bring it back. You know what I mean? And there was that sense of urgency. And I love that nervousness, that anxiety on stage. Like that's your friend, dude. That's the superpower. And you go, okay, let's use that, fight or flight, and you fight. It's a good show, no matter what, you're going to fuck out, dude. It's whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some of the things, because we talked about, obviously making some laws and stuff like that, but things that can actually be done in 3 different phases. So artists, fans, industry, maybe even potentially like laws and stuff like that. But what can be done to fight AI from basically killing rock music forever? And I think the first thing, obviously, that I mentioned is, they can't play it. A lot of people say like, your music saved my life. Your music helped me in a time of need. I guarantee there's no AI story like that. Like, oh, I listened to this AI music and all of a sudden I like stop myself from taking pills or whatever. I can tell you, like, from listening to your music, like Crazy Pills, Vitamins, all these other songs, that kind of story absolutely could be real. And I don't know if anyone has ever told you that, but that kind of music would be like absolutely would, get me off a ledge or make me feel better about myself or make me understand myself better than before I listened to it. So, what can bands and fans do to keep the connection between artists and fans strong? I think the first thing is that artists need to engage harder. I don't mean that they need to share more, like you were mentioning. Like I don't need to see my band, eating cereal, my favorite singer eating cereal in the morning or whatever, like sharing their breakfast. But stories behind the music, engage with that, give behind the scenes, talk about the culture that your music is creating, talk about the people, give stories, feedback about the bands or the bands that you play with, but also the fans that talk to you, show rehearsal clips, writing sessions, whatever, right? Like also they can limit the content where it's distributed, right? So like you don't have to put everything on Spotify. Like that's not the healthiest place for all music to live, right? Like you can put it on your Bandcamp, you can put it on your own website, you can, only release certain tracks for free and make, kind of put everything else through a paywall or whatever. But do you kind of see how, like, on your side, do you kind of feel like that's starting to happen more for you? Or is that something like you feel like you have to keep pushing stuff out and just creating content to keep up?
Yeah, man, I'm so passionate about everything that we're talking about that it's so hard to like take everything I want to say. I mean, I could soapbox this topic for like forever, but to simply put it, I think artists need to do bigger and greater things less. And I think we're living in a society of, everyone's chasing the fame online. So it's like content like this, you know what I mean? But if you look at most viral content creators, they got one or two fucking banger videos that are just hilarious. And then everything else is they're trying to recreate that fucking stupid ass video again and again and again and again and again, hoping something hits. Now, that is valid sometimes and that does work. I write for the trash can. You know how many fucking little songs I write in a day and I'm just like, oh, nope.
Yeah.
But I think especially for rock, because you specifically ask about the rock music and you word that in these questions. So to put that, rock and roll is supposed to be mysterious and fucking cool.
Yeah.
And if you're doing this, there's nothing fucking mysterious or cool about it. So once again, I'm nobody. I'm not some leading expert. I've never won an award for a song. I, don't have a million fucking songs released. And there's even local artists that have done way more. And I could speak on this more than I should. But I would like to just see better content and less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing you can do. Mean what you do, right? If the urgency and the importance and the burning desire is there for what you're doing, people are going to see that in your art. And you got to be okay with it not being a hit right away. You got to be okay with even accepting the fact that your songs might not even be heard till you're dead.
Yeah.
The best photographers and the best artists and the best songwriters, the best poets, 20, 30 fucking years after they die, their shit gets dug up from an old chest or whatever. Vivian Myers, one of the best photographers ever, was a nanny who didn't develop a single photo. Some kid fucking bought her shit at an auction and she's the most famous photographer. You got to be okay with that and you got to love what you do enough and not care about it really resonating with people. And I think that's where the connection will come,
Yeah.
Like, I was trying to write all these songs and do all this stuff. People know me more about being against AI locally. And, here we are in this interview. You never know what's going to hit. You just got to be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty happy knowing that, 20,000 years from now, some Alpha Centaurians are really going to rock my music out later.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing, really. You know what I mean? But I could tell you this, honestly. I believe in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Never released a song that I didn't connect to personally. And I've never released anything that I wasn't, really proud of, at least in the writing aspect of it.
Yeah.
Other hands touch recording and do things like that, and you get it the best you can. And it's not, and I'll be honest, I'm delivering you probably only 50 or 60% of what the song sounds like in here. I'm doing I kind of feel like songs are a gift and you get these melodies and you get these things that kind of come to you in an inspirational moment, right? And you ride that wave.
I know what you mean though. Like I think there was this I think it was Isaac Newton who said something to the effect of like basically there's never a perfect mechanic. Basically, you have this idea and then you try to recreate that idea in some way, shape, or form. You mechanically, art, music, art, and creatively, or whatever. And there's never going to be a person can never do that perfectly, right? So, and the quote ends with like something like, "If you ever do achieve that perfection, like fucking, you've reached the zenith," right? Like, there's just no way that you can really achieve that, but people, constantly try to do that. And I think there is, when I write music, I have this like great idea in my head. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be so awesome. I start to write, and I'm like, I'm fucking terrible. I cannot do what I'm trying to do. Like, it's a reasonable facsimile, but it's nothing like I want it to sound. And I'm like, okay, I still like it. Like, and we talked about this. Like, I like every song that I've ever written. I actually like the music that I write. I will listen to it later because it's like, it means something to me. It's the kind of music I want to listen to. Where when people say like, I don't really listen to my own music, I'm like, I don't know that I trust your judgment in music if you don't like the music that you're creating then. And why should I like your music if you don't like it? Like, or if you don't listen to it? I think you
Yeah.
should like to listen to your own music.
Everybody's different, and in terms of passion, you can't control how one person feels. But I'm probably fans of several artists that probably don't care about what they're
Yeah.
what they're doing. But here's a way to just kind of sum it up, man. I feel like wherever I'm grabbing music from comes from a four-dimensional place, and I'm making it three-dimensional. And then that's being translated by another human. They take that three-dimensional content, and then they either connect with it in a four-dimensional way that resonates with them. But when you're pulling music from AI, it's always going to be two-dimensional. Now, it might give you an artificial feeling of four-dimension, but I don't know. It feels that way.
Yep. No, I get it. I totally get it.
You know?
So yeah. So obviously as artists, create better stuff, right? Like that's going to help. I think, quality is better than quantity necessarily, like you said. I think fans, that's a thing that they can do is they can support harder. So artists engage harder, fans support harder, follow bands, save songs, buy merch, go to live shows, share live performances, like you said, share clips, buy stuff, give praise. Like the thing I never see really, unless they're like, posting a video, is people going around talking about how cool that show was of a live local band that they saw this. I never see that unless they were talking about it with somebody who was also there. And I constantly am telling like, oh man, like I had a fucking great time at, the Space the other day, or I had a great time at Red Dwarf, or I had, Red Dwarf's my fucking favorite bar for the exact reason. Like I can go watch live music and get drunk and have fun and eat pizza, eat wings, whatever. That's the kind of stuff that you never see, is like you never see human beings in real life praising local bands to people who just, what did you get up to this weekend? Oh, I just went to a bar on Saturday night. They don't even talk about it. So that I think is huge. Obviously fans can also call out fakes and counterfeits and fund the local scene, go to those local venues. But from your opinion, I mean, as an artist, you always, you don't want to say like fans should be doing this because it's like, it almost sounds like complaining, but do you kind of agree with like with some of the stuff that I'm saying as someone who is a fan, passionate? Like I wouldn't fucking create a podcast for this exact reason, to fight AI, to fight the the overthrowing of rock music, and this is what I've done as a fan. But I'm not the the majority of people, obviously. But from an artist, how do you see fans' engagement, and how does it feel from different from maybe any other experience you've had?
I think local scene and local band and local music and local artist, that's a bad word. I think it's a bad word because it takes away value, or I think it puts a image in someone's head that this is a easily obtainable thing that's here every weekend.
Yeah.
This is something that's less than a non-local band, but this is Las Vegas, Nevada, if we're talking about it specifically. And there's a lot of competition when it comes to like cover artists. I think the best musicians are making money in cover bands. They're not guys like me. And I mean, so when it comes to original creation, it's even harder. But if you do like a band, support the band, follow the band, do all the things. It's funny. People talk about seeing unity and, all these things, but, I've got a closet full of t-shirts, and I try to buy the record and t-shirt of every band I've ever gone to see. I've got Crimson Riot, I've got Nova Babies, I got everybody, man, and it's like, I share people's stuff and I pay attention. I really pay attention. I see who's really in it and whose heart's really in it and who's really doing the thing. I'd say for a good band, I think most good bands that I look up to are already kind of doing the less available thing, only doing shows that like really matter, or like, being less engaging really to then deliver a better experience.
Mhm.
I love to play, and I don't really care about that other stuff or like looking cool. Like I want to play as much as I can play, and that's just kind of me. But if we're talking about marketing, because this is kind of where it leans into, I think if you have a great product, deliver it the best you can, and do the big things that matter. Care less about this, and then I think people will value you more the less desperate that you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you don't give a fuck and you're like, I am an asshole. Yeah, I don't really care. Yeah, I believe in my music and I don't care if you like it or not.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Like I don't care. And I think,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's the attitude you gotta have, and just keep fighting, man. You know how many artists I've seen like fall off over the year and they get mad. They're like, well, I don't make any money and I don't. Bro, it's a miserable, long, fucking painful road. You're gonna lose relationships. You're gonna lose things. You might even lose a job over a gig that wasn't really important to you. Like this is the reality of things.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to do that, then stop crying about it and just go do something else. Pick up crochet, or I hear archery's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of losing a job, like one of my things that I wanted to do, obviously, I wanted to be a musician and tour and do all that cool stuff. But another passion of mine was journalism and broadcasting and stuff like that. So like here I am today doing this on my own because like I've never tried to get a job in broadcasting and journalism. But I did at one time in my life actually walk out of a job. It wasn't really a job. I mean, it was a job, but like I had the opportunity to interview Vanderlei Silva, who is a UFC fighter, and it was during work hour, and I just said, I'm quitting this job today so I can go interview Vanderlei Silva. Even though I'm not getting paid for this, I just want to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck it. Like, I don't want this job anyway. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go find another job, but I'm going to go interview Vanderlei Silva today.
So my first band that I sung and wrote in was called Contest of Arms, and there's a full record on all the platforms, and it's like 11 or 12 songs, and it was a compile of two early EPs, and we released it. Everybody from that band went on and did really big things. Cisco was the singer and screamer for I Set to Kill. Paul went off and was in the original lineup of Sleeping with Sirens. But like, dude, it was like, because I was scared. I was scared of fame, dude. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, I didn't believe I could do it.
Yeah.
I lived with regret for so many years, and I walked away from the band to go fulfill the American dream that greatly disappointed me. You know what I mean? So you just gotta keep fighting for what you believe in. Do what you love. Take the gig. Risk the job. They don't give a fuck about you, especially now. No one cares.
Yep. Yep.
You gotta care. You gotta care. Take the anger. Put it inward to build yourself more. Like, don't even worry about revenge. Don't worry about attacking other people. Don't worry about saying this about that person. Focus on you. Focus on, build yourself together, man. There's an old story. I know we're running out of time, but just to like kind of wrap that up if you want.
Sure.
Um, there's this little kid, and he's bugging his dad. The dad's watching this really important football game, and it's the most important game of the year, and the son, wants to play with his dad, and dad gets frustrated and grabs this front page of a newspaper that has a picture of the world on it and tears it up into 100 pieces and gives it to the kid and says, here, this is a puzzle to occupy you. Go put the world together and then come back and see me when you're done. Within 5 minutes, the kid comes back and the world's perfectly put together. And the dad's, shocked at how fast that was. And the dad goes, wow, how did you do that? And the son goes, well, on the back was a picture of a man. I just put the man together, and then the world was together too. And I just think that needs to be the focus, or else we're going to keep fighting,
Yeah.
in ways that are not constructive. So
Yeah.
be a creator, not a consumer.
Yeah. And then obviously with the industry, government, there are ways that they can help obviously fight AI, like you mentioned, make sure that there are laws that, push to get things like labels, AI labels on every form of art, not just, music, but also art, graphics, visuals, videos, all that stuff. So people know, like, this can't be a repeat, in my opinion. This cannot be a repeat of the fake news bots just launching. Like, as soon as that's allowed to continue beyond what we're talking about right now, and I assume it probably will be, it just will kill everybody's imagination, creation, self inner, whatever you want to call it, like their soul, right? Like the thing that makes them who they are, they will lose a lot of that by all this information and all this stuff being artificially created. I think there should be a standardizing of licensing and content systems for voice and style usage to pay
Absolutely.
for those who give consent. Like, yeah, if I want my stuff to be used for AI, I need to be paid for that. If I don't, I can opt out, and that can never be allowed, right? Like right now, it's like a loose like agreement that like if a creator opts out, but essentially it's probably already been there and it's already been used before they even opt out. Like anything you put on the internet, this conversation we're having right now could be used to inspire AI to do something else with it. I can say I opt out, but how would I know if they used it in any way, right? Like I have no idea. And then
Yeah.
obviously stronger enforcement and faster removal. Like those are things that can be systematically done.
Absolutely. We need that, but a lot of these corporations and, Spotify and all these guys, it's my theory that they're in bed with the government.
Yeah.
So, be hope for the best, but be prepared for the campfire. Once again, that's like this image that keeps popping in my head. Just be prepared for the campfire, y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree with everything you said. There needs to be those in place, but we can't. We just got to vote for that. We got to try and defend that and want that and voice that, and hopefully that comes around. There's a lot of people that are fighting for that, but this is a weird time, my guy.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be weird if Ticketmaster and Live Nation jumped on board to create some sort of laws that stop the dissemination of AI music for the simple fact that it could potentially destroy their fucking monopoly, which is almost absurd. Like Live Nation and Ticketmaster basically screwing every artist in the world out of like the freedom to choose what they can charge for tickets and what they should be able to choose for venues. Wouldn't that be weird if AI's rise in music popularity basically said, we don't need to have live shows? And AI, like Live Nation and Ticketmaster, are like, oh fuck, maybe we should do something about this now.
Well, look at the dome. Look at they're doing AI. They're filming bands there, charging you $1,000 to see them, and then charging you 50 later on for the re-recording of the hologram of them on stage. Like that's
Yeah, it's
already
fucking crazy.
happening with the big artists. You know what I mean? They don't care about
Yeah,
us. They're not worried about the little guy. That's why we got to keep doing these things. You know, make the local
yeah,
scene good. Make it good. Keep the shit out. Keep the good in. Let's really make it because a lot of us aren't going to be able to afford to tour. So let's do the Vegas thing and have a residency. Let's make them come to us. Who
yeah.
knows? The possibilities are endless, but you got to fight, man.
All right, so the crossroads are right now because AI isn't going to be the thing that kills rock music. Apathy will actually be the thing that causes the complete collapse. But rock music has survived disco, synth, pop waves, streaming, and all the other musical evolutions, and it does so by adapting with the soul and heart it takes to overcome existential crises. The real threat isn't that AI will create more content, it'll be that humans decide it's good enough and don't care that it's replacing human created music. So, a few things I think everyone can do in the next 30 days to help fight this AI revolution would be doing one of these small actions. Number one, go support, an independent, small, local band, whatever. Buy a shirt, vinyl, check out a show, build a playlist of your favorite independent artists, whatever. Start a podcast, do whatever you want. Number two, send an email to Spotify and any other streaming service to tell them to put audio tags and labels on AI generated music. I'll actually put the link to contact Spotify below this episode. Number three, go listen to Wyatt and the Ashes wherever you listen to music. Follow them on social media. All the tags will be in the show notes below. AJ, I want to thank you for being on the show. I love your music. You're an awesome guy. You're a great dude. And I wish the best for you with your life and your music. And, I appreciate you being on the show today. So make sure to go check out his music. AJ, do you have anything that you want to promote or talk about before we get off? I know you've got shows. You just played a show, and I know you got probably more shows
Yeah.
coming up. Yeah, go ahead.
Just look out for more shows. We're going to be doing a lot of bigger things this year. I think we are going to be moving future recordings off of the main platforms. I think for now, all new releases will be Bandcamp or Tangible exclusive, with probably just as simple as a post on YouTube for stream.
Nice.
That's just the way I think we're going on that. And if you come to shows, I'm really big on the hand drawn art. I'm going to be releasing demos on cassettes. So just raw bedroom recordings, just off the mic of a tape recorder type stuff. Like I'm going to be giving those out. I really want to get back to like what made it fun and why we love doing, what we do. And I think this is kind of a good opportunity if you look at it in a positive way, as AI might destroy certain elements, but it might be bringing back others. So,
Yeah. I mean, I
thanks so
never
much
thought
for.
vinyl was going to make a comeback, and here I've got like 80 vinyl records over here and a record player that I never thought I would have.
Hey, you know what? Thank God the consumer still likes tangible.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so make sure to go check out the notes, show notes for all the ways to support Wyatt and the Ashes and see a quick checklist of ways you can help real artists fight the rise of Skynet. That's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you learned anything or liked what you heard on the show today, please show us some support and subscribe to this channel and like, comment, and share this video with a friend or put it up on social media. I hate to keep asking, but without those small actions, the YouTube bots pretty much ignore this channel. Putting these videos out is a lot of work, and if you want to show your appreciation, please consider purchasing some of our musical accessories or merch from our store at poweredbyrock.com. You can read our blog and follow us in the links below as well. Those are the plugs, and that's all I have. I'll see you soon for the next episode. Until then, rock on.